Have you ever wondered what might be the worst year in human history? A simple question, yet it opens the door to complex considerations. After all, how do we define the worst year? Is it through the lens of human suffering, economic impact, or something else entirely? Each perspective sheds a different light, revealing an array of contenders. Nevertheless, there's a year that stands out with a chilling resonance in our collective memory. Today we delve into a year that could arguably take this grim title, the year 536 AD. The year 536 AD, a year of darkness and despair. A year that would forever be etched into the annals of human history. This was a time when a mysterious fog descended upon the world, a fog so thick and relentless that it plunged Europe, the Middle East and parts of Asia into 18 months of unending darkness. Daytime looked eerily like a perpetual twilight, and the sun was nothing but a faint glimmer struggling to pierce through the dense fog. Now imagine living in a world where the sun refuses to shine. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But for the inhabitants of these regions, it was a harsh reality. The darkness brought with it a cold summer that instigated the most severe food shortage in Europe. Agriculture was hit the hardest and the crops failed. The once fertile fields lay barren and the granaries were eerily empty. The lack of sunlight meant that the crops couldn't photosynthesize. No photosynthesis, no food. It was as simple and as devastating as that. The people were hungry and there was no respite in sight. The famine that ensued was unlike anything people had ever experienced. It was a desperate time, a struggle for survival. Yet, the impact was not just limited to food. The constant darkness and the cold weather took a toll on the people's morale. Despair seeped into their hearts, replacing the warmth of hope. The year of darkness was a psychological trial as much as it was a physical one. The mysterious fog of 536 AD was a catastrophe of epic proportions, bringing with it darkness, cold, hunger, and despair. It was a year when life as people knew it changed dramatically. It was a year that tested the resilience of humanity. But the darkness was just the beginning of the woes of 536 AD. As if the darkness and famine were not enough, 536 AD would bring another disaster. This disaster was none other than the Bubonic Plague, a calamity that would go down in history as one of the most devastating epidemics ever to hit humanity. Originating in the Eastern Roman Empire, this deadly disease quickly spread its tendrils of terror across the land. It was a silent, invisible killer, and no one was safe from its reach. The plague bacterium, Yersinia pestis, was a formidable adversary. Transmitted through fleas on rats, it infiltrated homes and communities, bringing death in its wake. The bubonic plague was not just a health crisis, but a social one as well. It's estimated that up to half of the Eastern Roman Empire's population perished during this time. This massive reduction in population led to a societal collapse. The workforce dwindled, agricultural production plummeted, and commerce came to a standstill. Imagine living in a world where every day brought news of more deaths, where fear and uncertainty were constant companions. It was a time of great despair, when the light at the end of the tunnel seemed to be fading ever further away. The people of the time must have felt as if the world was truly coming to an end. Yet, in the face of such adversity, there were also stories of resilience. Communities came together to support each other, showing the indomitable spirit of humanity, even amidst such a bleak backdrop. Doctors and healers of the time worked tirelessly, risking their own lives in the hope of finding a cure. The bubonic plague left indelible marks on the course of human history. It reshaped societies, changed the course of empires, and altered the trajectory of the world. This was not just a disease, but a catalyst of change, a force that brought about a new world order from the ashes of the old. The bubonic plague was a catastrophic blow to a world already reeling from a year of darkness and famine. A world that was on the brink of collapse, yet somehow found the strength to endure. The darkness, the famine, the plague, all of these had profound economic implications. Without a doubt, the year 536 AD was an economic nightmare. Imagine a world where the sun is blotted out, crops fail, and people fall ill en masse. This was the reality of the time, and it dealt a devastating blow to the economies of the day. Trade, the lifeblood of any thriving economy, was hit hard. With the sun's rays dulled, agricultural production plummeted. The scarcity of food and other goods led to a steep increase in prices. As a result, the trade routes that once bustled with activity became eerily quiet. The exchange of goods came to a grinding halt, not just on a local scale but across continents. The lack of trade meant that economies began to collapse. Without goods to exchange, money lost its value. Inflation skyrocketed as currencies became worthless. The wealth amassed by nations dwindled to nothing, leaving once prosperous kingdoms in ruins. The economic structures that societies were built upon were crumbling, and with it, the very fabric of civilization. Poverty and death were the harsh realities of the day. With no food, no work, and a plague ravaging the populace, people were thrust into abject poverty. The divide between the rich and the poor widened dramatically. The wealthy hoarded resources, while the less fortunate were left to fend for themselves in an increasingly hostile world. The death toll rose at an alarming rate, further deepening the economic crisis. The scale and severity of the economic impact of these events are difficult to fathom. It was a time when survival, not prosperity, was the order of the day. The economic turmoil of 536 AD was a stark reminder of how deeply interconnected our world is, and how a single catastrophic event can send shockwaves through every facet of society. The year 536 AD was a year of unprecedented economic turmoil. The effects of 536 AD were not limited to that year alone. Indeed, the aftershocks of this tumultuous year reverberated through the centuries, leaving a lasting imprint on the annals of human history. The year 536 AD marked the onset of what historians often refer to as the Dark Ages, a period characterized by cultural and economic decline, particularly in Europe. The oppressive darkness brought on by the mysterious fog led to widespread crop failure, which in turn fueled famine, disarray, and societal collapse. This period saw a significant decline in scientific thought, cultural exchange, and economic prosperity. The fall of great empires was another significant repercussion of the events of 536 AD. The Byzantine Empire, a beacon of power and prosperity at the time, was severely impacted. The economic crisis, coupled with the devastating effects of the plague, weakened the empire's defenses, making it susceptible to attack. This ultimately led to the loss of significant territories, and marked the beginning of the empire's slow descent into oblivion. Moreover, the events of 536 AD drastically altered the course of history. The societal and economic turmoil created a power vacuum that was filled by emerging kingdoms and cultures. The reshuffling of power dynamics paved the way for the rise of the Middle Ages, characterized by feudalism, chivalry, and the spread of Christianity. The effects of 536 AD also extended to the environmental sphere. The massive volcanic eruption led to a prolonged period of global cooling, known as a volcanic winter. The change in climate had far-reaching consequences, affecting agriculture and biodiversity. It served as a stark reminder of the profound impact that natural disasters can have on our planet. In essence, the year 536 AD was a catalyst for change on a global scale. It brought about shifts in power, culture, and the natural world, the effects of which have shaped the world we live in today. The year 536 AD was a year that changed the world in ways that are still felt today. So, was 536 AD the worst year in human history? From our journey through the annals of time, we've unearthed the chilling events that made this year stand out. The mysterious fog that descended, blotting out the sun, and creating a year-long winter. The famine that ensued, an inevitable consequence of failed crops and the resulting food shortages. The Bubonic Plague, a horrifying disease that swept across the land, leaving death and despair in its wake. Then, we delved into the economic impact. A society built on agriculture was decimated, the economy shattered, as trade networks collapsed and prosperity became a distant memory. And the lasting effects? They were profound and far-reaching. The societal changes, the shifts in power, the scientific understanding we gained from studying these events, they all stemmed from this tumultuous year. But, can we definitively label 536 AD as the worst year in human history? That's complex. It's a title that depends on perspective, context, and interpretation. What is devastating to one may be inconsequential to another. What is remembered as the worst by some might be forgotten by others. Nevertheless, the events of 536 AD were undeniably dramatic and devastating. They have left a lasting mark on our world, shaping human history in ways that still echo through the centuries. Whatever your perspective, one thing is clear. The year 536 AD was a year of dramatic and devastating events that have left a lasting mark on human history.